This is the Transparency Podcast Show.
Welcome to the Transparency Podcast. My name is Shane Ivan Nash, and I'm here with my co-host, who's got the most beautiful wig on today. I love the Beyonce energy. I know your partner's taking you to Beyonce. I can see the vibe, the energy.
Yes, I'm excited.
And awesome. You know, I've been watching these TikTok lives and really getting into it, especially because of all of our Jubilee stuff.
Yeah.
And
I'm the TikTok illiterate one.
I know, girl. I'm trying to get you on TikTok more. I'm trying to teach you the ways of the world. But I actually met this amazing woman on set with the Ben Shapiro. We didn't really get a chance to chat too much because I was a little nervous too on set. It was a lot to even, there was so much energy and emotions on that set. But I started to watch her content on TikTok Live, and she was funny as fucking shit. I feel like she didn't even get an opportunity to even like show who she was, because like, you know how Jubilee and those girls tussle. They just like, here's a little clip farm so that the Republicans can jerk off to it and be angry. But she never really got to show like the dynamic side that I was seeing her on TikTok, because the way that she reads these Republicans is like, ooh, it is so fucking hilarious. And she does this as a Black woman, which is really stark difference to a lot of like some of these other TikTokers you see going live.
Send me the button.
Let's get you some buttons. Hold on. Let me get Blossom the buttons.
I'll handle the clap.
Okay.
There we go.
But
I need a hand clap for that.
I want to introduce, since it's such a long intro, because she actually really deserves her flowers in that space. Julianne. Julianne, how the fuck are you doing today?
Hi, Julianne.
Oh my God, that was such an amazing introduction. I'm going to tear up now. But I am doing amazing. You know, Shane, when you came up on my live that one time and asked me to be on your podcast, I had to play it cool, you know what I mean, for the audience. But I was, in my head, I was like ecstatic. Like if I could blush, my face would be red. You know, so like I really appreciate you inviting me on here. I'm so excited to have any kind of conversation you want to have, to be honest. But like, it's I'm so happy to be here. You're both so beautiful. I remember seeing you on set, and when you turned that chair around, okay, I was shook. Everyone, and I'm so sad that we didn't get to talk. Look, I'm so sad that we didn't get to talk about it, but I'm so happy that I finally get to like actually have like an interpersonal conversation with you here. I really do appreciate the opportunity of you bringing me on your platform, as well as the beautiful woman. Okay, is it to your left or to your right? I don't know.
So sweet.
Girl, is that sensational? Is that sensational? I gotta know. I love that.
I told you,
color.
I love her. She's funny as fuck.
What's your zodiac sign?
I'm a Scorpio.
Ooh, October or November?
November.
Ooh.
5th.
Ooh, she gets them right on together.
No.
So,
but yeah, thank you guys so much.
Julie, my question is, first of all, how the fuck do you feel after meeting Ben Shapiro in the way that you did, since we both had to deal with that whole fun time? How was that for you?
Let me first say that I've debated people in person. That's how I started out debating. Either that be like seminars in high school, middle school, things like that. But being on that stage with Ben Shapiro, my heart was genuinely beating out of my chest. Especially like seeing this man who had like caused so many issues face to face, and like trying to figure out like what exactly I should say to him. It was very surreal. But I would have to say that after speaking to him and listening to him speak and the worldviews that he had, it definitely changed my perspective on how I should deal with people like him. Because I don't know if you remember, but on set, he kind of made that claim that he always makes, despite the fact that like people keep debunking him on it, regarding like Black people and the crime rate and whether or not it's
he claims he's from the streets, and he claims he's from the streets of Burbank at the same time.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Like, hello, you know. So I remember when he said that, and it
was a gut check. It didn't,
very much so. And I when I got back to my hotel and I realized how that felt, I broke down. I completely broke down, completely began crying. And because I was like, this is not how these are not the conversations that I want to have. Narratives like that, rhetoric like that are like completely just rooted in racism.
Yeah.
And that is simply all that it is, right? Because, and I really would have wished that they had let like the 4 Black women in the entire room talk to him about
Well,
these
we know
things.
why that didn't happen, because 2 certain white boys had, an attention and an ego they needed to fill. But we'll talk about that.
I mean, honestly, it's not just the 2 of them, but they are significant. The thing is like, I had to acknowledge the rage I have as a Black woman. And from that day on, I made a vow to myself that if a person ever would to erect such type of rhetoric in a room with me in it, I am either going to leave or I'm going to explode.
Well, you saw what happened to me, so yeah.
Yeah, and I respect you for that. I think you handled that the way you should have. And I think a lot of the time in these leftist spaces, we're taught that like we're too good for rage and we're too good to be upset. And I'm like, these are the main things, right? Like, I don't think people understand, like, you're not going to know why things like transphobia are wrong without talking to trans people and knowing the experiences. Same with racism, same with misogyny, right? Emotions and experiences are required to have a deep, fundamental understandings of these struggles. Yeah. And so the fact that you were so brave to get up and talk to Ben Shapiro the way that he ought to be spoken to, not as if you're not this whole like uppity, like performance art, intellectual like, no, we don't need that. We need more people to be angry. We need more people to be loud. We need more people to come in and just disrupt not say that but like to like disrupt these spaces that have this really rigid, like anti-emotion, anti-experience, I don't know, vibe. Because I feel like things like that genuinely kill an entire movement, especially one like leftism that is predicated off of like Black and queer bodies, of which most of what we have is our experiences. Is that not enough? I would have to ask people, but that's what was going through my head after, talking to Ben there.
Yeah, it's interesting because we literally just had a conversation about this. Literally had this conversation in our last episode about emotional intelligence and how we are talking from lived experiences. And I think it's weird because if you really think about it, these people that we talk to, like Ben Shapiro, they can't relate to our experiences. Ben Shapiro could never relate to being Black and being a Black woman at that.
Having rhythm,
anything. You know what I mean? And so it's like they try to create these false ideologies about our experiences because they don't have any compelling facts or any compelling arguments to lived experiences. They just do not. And I think what you said right there is so, so important. You made a great point about how we can be on the left. I've always said that people on the left don't support trans folks enough like the folks on the right do.
Or are problematic folks in general. I mean, we need to support everyone that is on our side that's willing to fight. I mean, most of the people that have helped me in my life probably would get canceled on the internet, but they would drop me $100 in a Venmo right away.
That's right.
Because they know who I am. They know that I do the work and they will support that in that sense. But they'll also might say something that would 100% get them canceled. And it's this idea that we have to like be this morally perfect activist, which I'm sorry, there's not a human being on this planet that doesn't make mistakes. There's not a human being on this planet that has all the knowledge. Anybody that claims they do, I do not trust anybody that claims they know everything because that is a scary individual to be contacting. And people like Michael Knowles, Ben Shapiro, and all of these people that are coming in with the assertion that they do know everything and that everything is an absolute and there is no nuance and everything is black and white. Meanwhile, like you said, they're not actually being affected in the same ways that we are. They don't have the lived experience. Through my transition as a white guy, like, let's be 100% real. Yes, I still experience transphobia. Yes, I still experience a lot of those things. But I, for the most part, when I walk through space, when I walk through the world, this world was built for people like me. And I can feel the stark difference after my transition. And that's why I'm so vocal about it, is because I want men to understand their privilege in a way that they may not even be aware of, which is really hard because they do lack a lot of emotional empathy. Right. Because we've got all this red pill Andrew Tate guys that are hyping him up, trying to tell him, hey, do this and you're going to get laid. Meanwhile,
and they're also saying you're a pussy for being in touch with your emotions. I hear that a lot. And it's crazy. And so, Julie, I want to know something.
Tell us.
Since we're talking about spaces, what spaces would you like to see yourself in? Because we're going to manifest some things today.
Yeah.
What spaces would you like to be in for people to hear more of your perspective, which is so important as a Black woman?
This episode is brought to you by KitCaster. KitCaster books you on top podcasts. How do funded startup founders attract prospects and talent? Podcast interviews. How do entrepreneurs with exits find new deals? Podcast interviews. How do C-suite execs differentiate in crowded markets? Podcast interviews. KitCaster books you on top podcasts. Click the link in the show notes for a special offer. Celebrate good conversation.
I don't want to get emotional.
It's okay. We cry here. Can we get the all button pushed?
Oh.
Thank you.
I had actually been thinking about that for a long time. And it's been a question that I've asked myself and a question that has left me a lot of sleepless nights, a lot of tears.
Really?
A lot of sad days. I believe for the past couple months, I've been crying very consistently. Oh. So I have to drink a lot of water. And, Pedialyte has me down pack. I'll tell you what.
Sponsorship to Pedialyte.
Yo, sponsor me. No.
Sponsor this video.
Link in bio.
But yeah, I actually recently wrote about it in my my recent publication on Substack, in which when I first hit the TikTok debate space, I blew up very quickly.
Who was that? How did you get to TikTok debate space? I've actually never known that story.
Me neither.
Yeah.
Well, I've always debated. Growing up, I've always loved arguing with people. It's always been my thing. Yeah, it's very fun. And I would actually first began debating on a mass stage on an app called Clubhouse.
Oh, I remember Clubhouse.
That was our thing.
Remember when it was exclusive and they didn't let everybody in?
Oof. Yeah. Yes. So yeah, I was on Clubhouse. I still went by Tashika, ask around. And I was definitely on the, Black side of Clubhouse. And one day I, scrolling TikTok and I'm getting bombarded with these debate live streams. And for a long time, I would say maybe a couple months, I was just watching them. And I particularly would watch a lot of live streams that were hosted by trans people, and particularly trans women. She got super canceled, so we're not going to talk about her too much, but
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So
I'm over here
I think you're actually friends with her. Never mind. Go on.
Yeah, no, but it was really bad. But I would actually watch her lives, and at the time, I really looked up to her, and because when I listened to her experiences as a trans woman, I kept hearing myself, and I kept hearing my own experiences as a Black woman. I would think back to how growing up, I knew I was a girl. I knew I was cisgender, but I wasn't treated like a girl. And that caused a lot of dysphoric feelings towards me. And and it was, I understood how I wanted to be treated, but people refused to treat me that way, despite how feminine I would make myself feel. I even went through a super hyper masculine phase that still left me feeling like I wasn't fitting in my body. And it took me a long time to realize that it wasn't me that wasn't fitting in my body. It was my body not fitting into society, or society not wanting my body to be involved.
Wow.
And when I would hear these trans people speak about their experiences, I just related on such a heavy, just on a heavy note. And I said, okay, I'm going to start talking about this. And I started doing my live streams advocating for LGBTQ education in schools, talking about the trying to defend the personhood of trans people, which is an uphill battle. I don't know why. But that's where it all began. And for some reason, I just blew up in a matter of weeks.
Not for some reason. You sell yourself way too short, and I'm really realizing this as I know you more and more. You're really fucking hilarious and highly intelligent. Like, I don't think you've recognized that about yourself because you're like 23?
Yeah.
Okay, real recognizes real.
Look, man, Shane.
So that's so beautiful.
Thank you. And I'm sorry. It's like it's
I know,
it's a habit
self-deprecating.
Of mine.
I only just at 35 started thinking I was hot. Don't trip. Go on.
Oh, please. You've been hot before that. Let's lock in. So look, the thing that caused me a lot of pain about finding out what spaces I wanted to be in is realizing deep down why I became so popular so fast. Because, and no offense, Shane, most of my audience was white. And
I know. There's that element too.
No offense is taken. I talk about it all the time with Shane.
Oh, I know. But yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
It's a boom sound effect.
Oh, we got it all.
My goodness. You guys are hilarious. I gotta lock in. Okay, no. So it took me a long time to realize this, but most of my audience was white. And I couldn't help but notice by the way that people would speak to me and also speak about me. I want to remind you, this is a realization that I came to a couple months ago. And people would regard my anger as a crash out, my frustration as every emotion I had was just higher. They represented it as higher than what I was actually feeling. People would call me strong a lot, which I am, but it has some weird undertones sometimes. People would comment on my intelligence as to say that I'm not stupid, but I'm I've never said that I was stupid, or little things like that.
It's the
saying that I was
microaggression
loud.
backhand.
Yeah. Saying that I was loud to aggressive, things like that. And by that, at that time, I also dressed very me. My big lashes, my bang, my striking makeup, all the 10 of 10s, right? Because I'm from Philly, so I dress like a Philly girl.
Ooh, and come on, Philly in the house.
Period, Philly mentioned. That's it seemed like a lot of the time when I would talk to people, they kind of expected something different. When they saw the way that I looked, they expected for me to speak a certain way, to act.
They do it to Blossom too.
Way.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I realized that over time, that the reason I became so popular, specifically amongst white people, is because I subverted their expectations. Is because they expected for a girl who went by Tashika, a very ethnic name, who looked like me, to not be able to engage in the intellectual and philosophical conversations that I was engaging in. They didn't expect for me to actually have training in debates and speak the way that I do with the confidence I do, all while still maintaining my silly disposition. And that was new to them. And at the time, I genuinely thought, I think I've already known this, but because at the time I thought that okay, it's good that I'm subverting their expectations, their racist expectations. But I realized that it doesn't actually change their perception of Black people as a whole. Instead, they see me as an outlier and not the status quo of Black women who live and look like me. And once I realized that, I began to think of my platform much differently, especially with my experiences, with those two demons. And
What demons?
Ooh.
What Voldemort? We're not going to speak their name. I hear that. I respect that.
It's just really hard for me to talk about them still, because of the amount of trauma that I went through.
I'm so sorry. Yeah.
And I know I would choke on it too. And
fuck it.
but no,
I have something in my throat.
Look, nah, but yeah.
Oh, the fuckery, but go on.
But yeah, like I did experience a lot of trauma regarding my experiences with them.
Yeah.
And when I saw the way that people would react, well, the way that people did react when all of it happened, I kind of realized something about the space that I was in, and I started to crave being around my own people, being around more POC, being around more Black people. And when I looked at my life and I realized that I only had issues with people of a certain hue, I was floored, because the entire time I had thought to myself, I am in a good space. I'm in a good space. I'm in a space that I ought to be in. Why do I feel so alone? Why do I feel like if I step too far out, I am going to be treated as if I am a dog that needs to be corralled? And when I behave as the Black woman that I was taught to behave as, one that doesn't really ask for help because I assume that it's not there for me, one that responds with anger as a way of protection, one that acknowledges the fact that to an extent I am alone in this space and to an extent in the world. When that man did what he did to me, I did not look for help in the people around me. I did not feel like I could. I think fundamentally I was aware that there would be no help for me. And that unless I made myself smaller and unless I huddled up in a corner like a child, that I would not receive any help. Because the strength I have in the community that I was in was not seen as a positive. It was seen as troublemaking. It was seen as a way to divide people.
Yeah.
And I did what I thought was right. And because I did what I thought was right, because I did not sit back and let other people try to solve my problems, and because others were not able to impose their wants and morality onto me, I was not a perfect victim. And because of that, I was met with significant hatred. I was met with harassment. I was met with death threats. I was met with people sexualizing me, people calling me a monster, a narcissist, spell narcissist. And these things completely changed my perspective on the space that I was in. I realized that I was very deeply entrenched in enemy territory. And so the space that I want to be in is a space that incentivizes people like me, is a space that acknowledges that people make different decisions, a space that allows for people like me to feel like there is someone that is out to help them. And those spaces are typically not going to be predominantly white. And that hurts me a lot, despite the fact that I am typically opposed to them. It hurts me a lot that leftist spaces that are supposed to be as inclusive as possible exclude people like me, and instead prop up cis hetero white men. And I hope I'm not rambling, by the way.
No, honestly, you're saying so much that I don't. Let me just jump in real quick. First of all, I just want to acknowledge the harm that you've experienced because, yes, those two individuals, we'll we'll let the comments decide. We'll let them figure out who these folks are. It's obvious as hell if you don't know. Make sure to look up Julianne on her page and try to find it. Dig deep. Let's give her some views. But I just want to acknowledge that experience that you had because, you know, I had my own experience on set with those two individuals. And from my perspective, it felt like they took up a lot of space in a way that like made me really uncomfortable. Like it was just the two of them like fighting each other for Ben Shapiro's time, while there was so many people like yourself and others that didn't even really get an opportunity to speak. I luckily got an opportunity to speak, but also like, you know, I'm like a shark. I look for my moment. When there's blood in the water, I'm going to fucking bite. So be careful. But also that takes with a lot of years of experience. There was a lot of people that did not like spent money to be a part of this and didn't get that. And that kind of was my first thing that kind of rubbed me wrong about these two folks. And my other experience is like after I went on that Jubilee experience, they would go live and say like, yeah, I know a trans person. Their name is Shane. First of all, you don't know me. We shook hands once. We met on a set. We never had a conversation. You don't even follow me. We've never, you know, so you're using me as a talking point as a trans person. You're saying incorrect stuff on a live. I even requested to try to like help correct some of that stuff because like it's really important to correct when people are misspeaking about trans people, especially using my name attached to it, which is just weird. And I even had another TikToker who I collabed with for a moment, like reach out to me that she had a similar experience with the two individuals too. Like, and it sucks because like, I do still in a way want to see them succeed because I think they could be pretty powerful, but I think that there's a level of like, even what's going on with Harry Sisson right now. I mean, like you said, like I was on a live last night. I lost my live access because I was trying to big bro him and give him some advice because like, he's navigating a lot of stuff. He's made some mistakes. He's acknowledging he's making mistakes. Again, I don't know every receipt and there might be some stuff that I might have to even be like, hey, actually, I don't support because I don't know. I'm not going to ever vouch for, especially a cis man's bullshit. But what I saw in him in that live and what I don't see in the other two individuals and even what even happened to him, like he got thrown under the bus by those two individuals too. And like, it's like this narrative of like this perfect moral whatever that you have to be this person and then you cut off that person and I feel like that kind of happened to you too. Meanwhile, it's like from my understanding, one of them was racist, you know, and said all these things.
One of the guys?
Yeah, it was like was it Twitter or something? I don't know exactly. I didn't do too much research but I will say like they openly admit, yes, I had a racist past and but meanwhile it's like folks like yourself, Julie, like maybe you did make some mistakes. I don't honestly know exactly what went wrong. I always just loved your lives because you're funny as fuck and you know how to read somebody. But I'm also proud of you that you're even able to acknowledge maybe some mistakes you've made, even in the light of being harmed, because trauma is not an easy thing to navigate. But I've seen like these two guys kind of like not be held accountable, and it kind of still plays into white supremacy, but then they're sitting there saying they're taking down white supremacy.
That's what I wanted to say.
But I'm like, wait a second, you're actually still using the master's tools, you know what I mean? And it's like, wait, whoa.
That's exactly what I wanted to say. I was just like...
It's giving grifty a little, you know what I mean? But I don't know. Like,
it's grifting, yes, but I think we also are trying to wake up the fact that white supremacy can also thrive on the left.
Oh, yeah.
And just because we're all on the same side and have similar values and views or whatnot, there's still this level of white supremacy at the top that's going to deem some people on the left as superior to others. And it sounds like that with these two individuals, because I would have to go back and relook at the episode or whatnot.
Yeah.
It seems like these two are just trying to make a statement.
Well, they're young and they're trying to make a name for themselves.
They're trying to make a name for themselves.
They're content creators, but it's like...
But they're taking away from other people whose voice also has value and actually has more value in a time where there's so much chaos and hatred for no reason, phobia and all of these things. And it's like, instead of those two running to the seat, they should just be letting other people go. But here's the thing, their mentality ain't set up that way. And we got to call a spade a spade.
Well, that's why, like, having these type of conversations, I think it's important. It's important to acknowledge the harm that Julie experienced. I mean, like...
And we're so sorry about that you experienced that harm, by the way.
Julie,
I want to say... I'm sorry. Yeah.
One more thing, because I have my ADHD and I totally want to get this out. just in hearing you speak earlier, and to Blossom's point about it is important to highlight more voices than these two guys, because your world experience that you just described as being a woman and saying like you understand trans people and like that whole in-depth intertwined conversation that I think cis women and trans women need to have more often. And I think you could be a catalyst in that and a great leader, because it sounds like you really, like, I was like, girl, are you trans? Like, that sounds like everything we deal with, you know, like in a different way, clearly, because there's nuance, but like, it's still that same patriarchal, hierarchical white supremacy structure that we're all facing, that harms us all in a multitude of ways. And folks who are in our progressive spaces can make mistakes. I've made mistakes. Awesome. You've made mistakes. We've all, like, no one, again, is morally perfect, but again, I feel like we've taken up too much. So Julie, what the fuck is your rebuttal? What's your rebuttal? What do you got? Because I know and I don't want to trigger you too much, because I do still want to give space for you. So.
No, absolutely. In that filming, but before I even talk about anything else, I think it's really important. I want to let you guys know I have a Reddit of 2,000 people.
Oh wow.
Just to hate on me. I am so unimportant.
We know what
2,000 people spend so much time talking about me.
Yeah, it's weird, right?
And after my experience with that man, and because it was, I don't even know if it would be appropriate to go down what had happened, because of such a heavy trigger warning. I realized something about those two that I did not think that even they were possible of. When I decided to just be candid and say exactly what had happened to me, bar for bar, their response was probably one of the most disgusting that I had ever seen. I guess in a way to discredit the fact that I was being abused and manipulated by a man who owns several firearms.
Oh.
I guess to kind of quell the pushback, they instead accused me of sexual harassment.
Yeah, I saw that.
They accused me of not caring about Palestinian people because I, as a Black woman, have a nuanced opinion on what it means to vote in the face of genocide.
Yes. Preach.
They also they painted me out to be someone of whom they've been trying to change to be better, as if, again, I'm a dog to be trained by two cis hetero white men.
Oh my God.
And I remember in that filming, because I was sitting right next to them, Dean tried to talk to me, saying how happy he was to see me. And I don't understand. I don't know about you guys, but would you be happy to see someone that has sexually harassed you? No, I don't think so.
Not at all.
And so to use something like that against a Black woman, knowing that people hypersexualize me, knowing that Black women are seen as sexual deviants, even by those on the left, when you stem from a predominantly white supremacist space that is white leftist spaces, especially on the internet, when you accuse a Black woman of such a disgusting and abhorrently violent behavior towards you, people are just going to believe it and they don't care.
Yeah.
Despite the fact that previously this was an understanding between the three of us. We would talk about it all the time. I made them so much goddamn cash because of the jokes that I would make. And they would tell me to keep going. If anything, the man that abused me tried to weaponize the same thing against me. And those two were the ones who defend me against him. So I thought it was so disgusting for him to pretend as if a person like me who he has claimed to have harmed him in such a way, he is now all of a sudden happy to see.
Gross.
So disgusting. And that's just that. I also think I'm sorry, I think I forgot your question. I hope I mentioned it.
It's totally fine. We're going everywhere. And it's triggering, and I'm sorry if I did trigger you from asking that.
No.
You know?
I'm not triggered, but it does make me angry.
Yeah.
Because people treat me terribly. I think it's disgusting when your supporters come up on my live streams and call me slurs. I think it's disgusting when their supporters come up on my live streams and make fun of a man who held a gun to his head in front of me. Right? I mean? So I think the spaces that they harbor are inherently violent. As well as the fact that I've always found it weird that specifically on Debate Talk, that there is Debate Talk and then there is Black Debate Talk. Yeah. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make sense. Because in terms of like American ideologies regarding progressivism, they've always been spearheaded by Black and brown bodies. So I would just like to know, why is it that the top spearheads of this leftist ideology on the internet are
not allegedly, not my word. Yes.
cis hetero white men.
I know. Why can't we have a trans guy? Listen, I know how pussies work. I can find the clit.
I mean,
listen, well, Julie, I
think it's very obvious, but yeah.
Shit, you want to see the episode we just shot? That was a little spicy. Blossom and I had a moment.
We already know.
We definitely had a moment. Julie, first of all, I want to say thank you for having this conversation today. I know it's not easy. I know when I reached out to you, you were even like, there was a lot of trepidation in the conversation. And I really just want to respect the fact that you have these conversations, especially as a survivor of abuse. It's important to have them as hard as they are, because you don't know who this conversation might actually help uplift by seeing your power, especially as a Black woman. Blossom is my co-host and best friend, and she deals with that angry Black woman trope constantly. And it's so disgusting. And that's why I wanted to bring you on today, to give you some flowers, tell you that, keep doing your TikTok debates, keep showing up in the way that you are, if there's a way I can support you, reach out to me, let me know. Even collabs, we can do TikTok dances together. I don't give a shit. I just want you to know, like, in terms of just an impact you've made on me, there's been times where I've had some rough days and I've watched your live and I can laugh when I'm finding out from this administration that I'm going to be eradicated, but you said something funny and I was like, holy fuck, I can still laugh. So that's why, like, it was important for me to reach out to you as much as I did. I'm sorry if it was a little too much for you on the line, but I was a little thirsty. I know, but I was so excited to meet you and give you more space, because I really felt like the way that you showed up to the table with Ben, like, you had a lot to say and it didn't get to be out in the way that it is. And I hope that people continue to follow you. Please spell your username for folks and give all that information out so people know where to find these debates on TikTok Live, because it's important for people to really support you. And I think it's important to have a Black woman as the head of leftist TikTok debates too. I mean, the intersectionality of your experience is something that even I can't draw from. I don't know what it's like to feel racism in that extent. And it's an experience that needs to be talked on, especially in leftist spaces and especially as a Black woman, because that experience gets erased and misconstrued far too often. So where the hell can people find you? What's the news? Where's the tea? Where are you at, girl?
Oh, I'm a little bit of everywhere. Right now, mainly my main platform is obviously TikTok. You can find me at Tashika.baby, 2 I's, not a Y, lock in. I also have 2 publications on Substack called Ain't I a Leftist, and another one going over the current state of affairs in the United States called Who Asked. And on Substack, I am Julianne Tashika. And then Should I give my Instagram or something?
Yes, come on.
it.
Give the Venmo.
yes.
Listen, I put Venmo link in bio. Send me $1 too on live. What the fuck?
I mean,
Thank you for the $1. You know who that's from. Anyways, go on. Sorry. I'm petty. Go on.
My IG though is Bimistake. I don't know how I can spell that.
I love that.
We'll find you. We'll find you. We'll get you linked below in the video.
Thank you.
I won't make you spell it.
I post funny memes and stuff on there because sometimes we just need a break. And then what else? I don't know. If you go on my Substack, the rest of my links are there.
And make sure to subscribe as well. Send her money, Venmo link in bio. Blossom, do you have any statements to
my
send this
reparations
beautiful Black
immediately?
woman? Yes.
Listen, the only thing I have to say is keep being so badass. We need you in this movement. I didn't even know about debate TikTok. I need to get on there and
Girl,
debate.
I've been telling you.
I know. I'm about to get my political. I
love
two
talking
TikToks.
shit on there.
I have my
It's
tarot
fun.
TikTok and I have my political TikTok. But
Oh, you do
are-
tarot?
I do tarot and astrology. I'm a tarot reader and an astrologer. Yeah.
She can read you in more ways than one.
Yes, girl.
I love
We're going to talk. We're going to connect.
Okay.
I think that you are so amazing and you said a lot of great things here. And I know that people are going to listen. And even if they don't listen, make them listen. Keep being loud. Keep being heard. Keep being seen. They're going to always try to use our race and our gender identities and gender expression as a way to deter us from what the goal actually is. But that's not going to happen because of voices like you. And so I love you dearly. Shane loves you dearly. We're out of time. So with that being said, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below so that way you'll know when me and Shane post new videos. And remember to take a little time to enjoy the Transparency Podcast Show. We'll see you next time.